Hello everyone and welcome to my personal 2021 character tier list. So what I am doing is I am going across the 2021 character tier list that Alex has created and putting them in order. So we are at the top, we have Julia's theme, then Sharon's 1995 exit, which was very good. Then Meh, which, Meh characters. Incidental music is something we do not like. And then right at the bottom of the barrel, we have Wolford's CCTV, which we all know doesn't work that well. And then we also have Better Luck Next Year for any characters who may or may not have not really appeared much this year or done much, which Bernie, I'm looking at you. So let's get going, shall we? So these are all in random order. So the first one I have here is Mick Carter, which I think Mick's had an okay year. I'm going to put him in Sharon's 1995 exit because, from New Year's Day he had a brilliant episode and he's been quite good this year. He's been, working with Frankie and Nancy and Linda and, he accepted the affair, so he's quite high actually. Normally I don't rank Mick that high, but he's alright. So next up we have Ben Mitchell. He has appeared a lot this year, but he hasn't really done much. When I say he's not done much, there was obviously the wedding. Was that this year? It's a long time ago. Yes, it was. It must have been. I'm going to put Ben in incidental music only because all he seems to do is do gangster things, and he's not very nice recently. So he's not low, but we still like him. Next up we've got Denise Fox, who has had a really good year actually. She's she's brought Raymond back. She's stood up to Phil. She's been a good-ish sister to Kim. I mean, obviously Phil had something to do with that, but I'm going to put her right at the top at Julia's theme because I think that's what she deserves. Long gone are the days of her GCSE and pasta. She is riding high, and obviously she's getting married this year. Not that we'll see any of that on screen. So next up is her sister Kim, who a few months ago I would have put Kim quite low because she had that stupid Foxcatcher storyline and the stupid Kimfluencer storyline. Like, she was just used as comedy, inverted commas, but the comedy was not there. It wasn't it. But ever since she found out Vincent died, they've used Serious Kim, and I think actually since Serious Kim has been around, Tamika has shown exactly what she can do when she has the right material. So I'm going to put Kim right up there with Mick in Sharon's 1995 exit, only because of the Kimfluencer stuff, which put her down a peg. Right, so next up we have Tiffany Butcher, who has just recently left the show. I'm going to put her in Meh. I think Meh sounds a bit too harsh, actually. I think Meh should be, you're right, because she's alright, but, her last storyline was, siding with Aaron and the racist gang, even though she's gone through all that stuff with Keegan last year, and she should have learnt from being around, she's got black brothers, she's got a black stepdad. She should know better, but she was influenced, wasn't she? And then her dodgy exit with Liam as well, and it was all a bit sad and upsetting. So yeah, she's in Meh, but Meh to me isn't a bad thing, it's a Meh. Right, Karen Taylor next. Karen Taylor never really does anything, does she? So I'm just going to put her in incidental music next to Ben Mitchell. Because Karen's kind of just a support character, but she hasn't really done anything. She didn't grieve for Chantel's death. She's not bothered that Bernie disappeared having a baby. She didn't really care that Keegan was in hospital because a week later she was having a hen do with Kim. So she can just go in incidental music. Nancy Carter, obviously she returned this year after a long spell away, and she used to be one of my favourite characters, Nancy did, and I really liked her and Tamwa together. Obviously she's returned. She came in with a CBD oil storyline. which disappeared, and then she wanted to be sterilised, and then that kind of disappeared. And they're trying... I don't know, it seems like they're trying to find someone. Like, she was with Zach, and then she wasn't with Zach, and now she hates Nance. Now she hates Frankie, and she's sent Frankie away. And now she's just kind of there being moody. So it does pain me to do this, but I'm going to put her in Met as well, because I used to love Nancy. I used to think she was amazing, but she's just been a bit questionable this year. Next up we have Jean Slater. Again, Jean kind of just does the same thing every year now. She spent the whole year ignoring her if she had cancer or didn't have cancer thing, and then she didn't. And then she sold loads of weed because Big Mo left it for her. And then framed Ruby to go to prison because Ruby framed Stacey. So really what Jean did was no better than what Ruby did to Stacey, in my opinion. So it's all a bit complicated, but the actress always heightens things a bit, doesn't she? So I'm going to put her up with Sharon's 1995 exit. So not the best, but it's always nice to have Jean around. Speaking of Jean sending Ruby to prison, next we have Ruby Allen, who has disappeared on her maternity leave, and now she is in prison for drug smuggling weed and letting Jean sell it for her, is the story. But Ruby did have not a good year, did she? She faked she had a miscarriage and then blamed Stacey for pushing her down the stairs and then deleted the footage. She lied to Martin, lied to Stacey's kids, lied to everyone, and now she's just sitting in prison, selling a house, and Ruby's running her club. But she gave some really good performances with the miscarriages, and she had that stone garden, and Louisa Layton really did do some powerful performances in between the Ruby's a bitch storylines. So I think she's going to have to be demoted to Mayor, only because of the dirty that the writers did on the character. Because beforehand, when she didn't want kids, she was an independent businesswoman. We liked that Ruby, but she went all mother on us, which we don't like. So next up we have Zach Hudson, who was, arrived this year as Sharon's brother, secret brother, and he is going right up to the top. Prepare yourselves, he's going into Julia's theme. Even though I don't agree with the character, because his creation is surrounded by bad decisions, like Kush being killed off and Denny being killed off, they then created Zach as an in-between of both characters, so they think we won't notice. Now he's best friends with Martin, Sharon's got someone to look after who's a bit older, but the actor has pulled it out of the bag, and he's a very good character. He interacts well with everyone, so he's right at the top. He looks like James Dean as well, so he's got that Hollywood spark. Next up we have Suki Panesar. Suki's been an odd one this year, hasn't she? Because we've been crying out for her to have a bit of character development and a bit of depth added to her, and they killed off Jags off screen, which was always a pleasant outcome for us. So we enjoyed that. She grieved for him. They showed it all well. She had this weird storyline where she thought she was attracted to Suki, thought she was attracted to Honey, and we weren't sure if it's just because she's never had a friend before, so she didn't really know how to interact with a female friend, because all she ever does, or everything she seems to do, is she uses her sexual prowess to conquer people, and that's what she tried with Honey. And then she kissed her and then fired Honey for not reciprocating. So she's still a baddie. She's still the baddie of the show. And I'm going to put her up because she's just, she always gives great performances and she's always up there. So I'm going to give her a Sharon's 1995 exit. Not quite at the top, because I want to see where the sexuality storyline goes and how it's handled before I bump her up to royalty. Speaking of royalty, of course, we've got Sharon Mitchell / Bill now. And after a disastrous year last year of trying to poison Ian and then kill him in the new year with Phil, and then they've quite rightly rested Sharon and tried their best and most hardest to reinvent her as a good human being again. So which they did do for most of the year. She bought the gym, And she's been a businesswoman. She's been carrying around bits of paper all the time, filing things in and being a bit of a support. She's not gone back to Phil yet. But then at the end of the year, they kind of ruined it again with her because they made her listen to Phil, which is always a bad idea. And she ended up siding with Phil and trying to steal Alyssa's baby. No, Jada's baby, which is Alyssa. And then that was just, no. So you would have had a Sharon's 1995 exit Sharon. But because you've been so messy this year with a nice middle, you're going into meh, I'm afraid, which is the lowest I think Sharon's going to rank in a long time. So onwards and upwards next year, Sharon, please. Sort yourself out. If you're back with Phil, you're going to be going down to incidental music. That's a warning. So next up we've got Frankie Lewis, who again has been a shining star of the show. She's just fantastic, isn't she? She's just such a good character, and she again interacts well with so many people. So she's going up to Julia's theme with Zach and Denise, because she's just been really good, and they've not done anything silly or stupid with her. But now she's on a big break, so we're not going to see her again until next year, sadly. So next up we've got Isaac, who is Patrick's son, Cherie's son. He had a big storyline, it's probably his biggest storyline he's had since he arrived as the secret son, where he had the schizophrenia storyline, which started off well, but it slowly turned into watching the same scenes over and over again for about 3 months. And it all got a bit of a mixed, messy... it was just all a bit meh. So I think Isaac's going to have to actually go into... Does he go into meh or incidental music? I'm going to put him in incidental music because I don't like how they sort of shoehorn the schizophrenia storyline. It obviously wasn't planned from when he first came in, and they just thought, we know little enough about Isaac that we can just shove that onto him because we want to tell this story. But it wasn't told that well, and yeah, it was just a lot of sound effects and edits, and at the time of that storyline, I'd only just watched Joe Wicks's schizophrenia storyline, which is like 2 different leagues, so I had to compare them. So I'm afraid that bends them down, because there was lots of incidental music during the storyline, so Isaac fits in well with that company. So next up is Chelsea Fox, who had a busy year this year. She's been a bit odd, because she, a bit like Ruby, started off hating children, never wanting children, knew Gray, saw through him, saw that he was awful, and now she's pregnant with his baby and marrying him. So they're kind of... I know Chelsea's always been a bit like silly or stuck up or snooty or only cares about money, but they've really played on it this year where she's almost on the edge of being nasty about it all. Even though Gray is a murderer and an abuser, she's still just being very horrible, even to him, which I don't feel sorry for him because he deserves it. But if she would treat anyone like that, I think. And she's just a bit meh. But the actress is so good. So I'm going to put her in meh, and then next year, once she divorces Gray or kills him or whatever she does, she can go up a tier. Next up is Lola, who again, surprise everyone, she's had a quiet year, not really done much. She's just been a support to Isaac, really. So she can go next to Isaac in incidental music because I have no real feelings about her. Right, so next up is Jack, who again hasn't really done much. He's sort of got on with Denise and they're in love, but we haven't seen any of it. They're just sort of hovering around a wedding. So I'm going to put him in better luck next year because he's, the last Branning surviving. So he needs some luck for next year. We've got Keegan. He's still doing his business. He's divorced. He slept with Dottie, unfortunately. Didn't question Tiff's letter when she left him or text her to say, you said you left a letter, but there was no letter, just divorce papers. Bit dumb. But I like Keegan. There's something about him that you sort of want to root for. So I'm going to put him in Sharon's 1995 exit. Just. So next up we have PC Callum Highway, which I still think looks ridiculous every time he wears a uniform. He's had a quiet year as well. He's not really done much. They've not used him much. even though his grandmother was here. So I'm going to put him in incidental music. I like Callum though. I'm going to put Callum in Mare, just because I like him. He's like a generally nice guy. So he goes up in my estimations. Next up we've got Dottie. You know, she's had a very busy year. She kept a secret for nearly a whole year about her Uncle Tom. Her mum's come into it. Slept with Keegan, broke up the marriage, hates Sonia, wants Dot's money. She's been scheming, and I like Dottie. I think investing the right amount of time into her, she could be quite good. So I'm going to put her in... I wish there was one between Sharon's exit and Mare. I'm going to put her in Sharon's 1995 exit, because I think she has a lot more to give. Next we have Kirat Panasar, who, again, I did like him because he saw through Grey. But Grey then took him out of the fire in the to the song of Florence and the Machine. So I think that's annoyed me. And he's being a bit silly because he knows that Chantal died because of Grey, deep down, but he's not doing anything about it. So I'm going to put him in Meh, which is a nice group of people. Next up we've got Patrick, who, you know, he's been a great support character this year. He's supported Denise and Kim and Isaac and stood up against Cherie, and, you know, she left him and tried to do him over by selling the salon, but it didn't faze him. He stood up to Phil when Phil was attacking Denise verbally, and Jack just stood there watching. So I'm going to put Patrick up into Sharon's 1995 exit, because we always love a community character like him. Next up we've got Martin Fowler, who, you know, has been a bit blind to Ruby's manipulation, and again had a bit of a quiet year. After the Dark Martin stuff, they seem to be a bit unsure of what to do with him. So I'm going to put him into incidental music. Actually, no, I'm going to put him in Better Luck Next Year, because always love Martin, always love a Fowler, so we're always rooting for you. Next up we've got Billy Mitchell. Again, horrible man. He divorced Honey years ago, and he's still banging that drum trying to get her back and doing anything he can. So he's going to be my first Wolford CCTV, which we know does not work. And for me, Billy is not it, so he is right at the bottom. Bye bye. And then we go on to Bobby Bill, who automatically goes up to the top into Julie's theme, because the recast of Bobby Bill and the revamp of his character has been the best thing ever. And seeing him just go through his problems, be friends with Ikra, his new girlfriend Dana, he's just like the perfect soap character at the moment. So he is right at the top, up there with the greats. And we're going back down again now, because Peter Bill is next. So he is going straight into Wolford CCTV, because they have just turned him into a mini Ian, because Ian left the show and they don't know what to do. So they've just turned Peter into Ian Bill. But there's something I don't like about this Peter. So he's just right down there. Low, low, low into the bin, I'm afraid. Sorry, Peter. I would say Better Luck Next Year, but we don't know if you're going to be there, do we, really? Let's be honest. Next up we've got Sonia Fowler, or Jackson, whatever she's going by these days, and she's had an okay year. Her dad returned, and, you know, she's been a good community character. I wish they would use Natalie Cassidy more, because I love Sonia. She's fantastic. So she's going up, even though she hasn't done that much and it's a bit of a cheat, but she's going up to Julie's theme just because I love her so much. Next up we've got Rainey Highway, who, you know, she's been trying to get a baby. She's tried to pay off Tiff and then paid off Bernie, tried to get Karen to carry the baby too. Desperate. Kind of worried about Abby, but not really, seeing she's been kidnapped. Again, not used that well, but I do like Rainey. So she's going to go into Meh, which is like that kind of middle of the ground. I want her to like sort of front a story, and them actually to give her time. She only has like one scene every like 3 weeks, and the same could be said about Stuart. He's now got a new, it could be like a breast cancer storyline for him, but again, they don't ever tend to give him the room to work with the storyline. There's sort of like a scene here and a scene there, and we're sort of meant to piece in between together. So you can go into Meh with Rainey. They can be there together. Actually, no, I'm going to put them in Better Luck Next Year, because I want them to have a big, good year next year. Next we got Honey Mitchell, who was missing for quite a lot of the year. She went to America with Janet and she had the whole thing with Suki, and she's with Jay, which makes me feel sick internally and externally. So she can go into incidental music, because I don't not like Honey. She's alright, but she's just kind of there, isn't she? Then we've got Jay, her love. Yes, they do sleep in the same bed, and yes, that's disgusting. But I do like Jay, he's a nice guy. And I think he's been wronged this year, so I'm going to put him in Sharon's 1995 exit, because he's just a nice guy and I like him, and he's not done anything wrong. He always stands up for people. Next we've got Bernie, who had her diet pill storyline this year, where she made Tiff buy them for her for some reason, even though she could have just bought them herself. And then we had the surrogacy storyline, and then she just decided that she wanted to leave and go on a train. So she did. And now she's selling herself in Spain with Keanu. She's meant to be coming back, although I'm not sure if she is or not. But I really liked Bernie, so I'm going to put her in Meh, which, middle of the ground. We like you, Bernie. One of my favourite tailors. So next up we have Mitch, who is just the most pointless character on the books. I don't know why he's still here. I'm guessing he's just hanging on until the end of the Grey storyline, so he's just going to go into Wolford CCTV, because I could do without, quite frankly. He's literally never had one storyline apart from going to the toilet. Next we got Phil, who again can go into Wolford CCTV, because I've recently discovered that it's not like I used to like Phil, or the old Phil was good and he's rubbish now. I don't think I've ever really liked Phil apart from his first few years in the 90s. From wherever he started being horrible to Kathy and they divorced, he's just been on a downward spiral as a character, and still this year he just doesn't take any responsibility for his actions ever. So he is Wolford CCTV at the bottom, because I don't miss it when Phil's not on screen. I don't miss him. So next up we've got Shirley Carter. Again, she doesn't really ever do much, does she, apart from moan at people. So she can go to incidental music because she's just kind of there. Even though I love Linda Henry and I do like Shirley's character, she doesn't really do much anymore, does she? She's kind of outstayed her welcome, I feel. Next we've got Rocky Tom Terry Cotton, who's had multiple personalities this year. And he's obviously took me by surprise, actually, Brian Connolly, because when I first saw the announcement of his casting, I thought this is just a stunt casting. He's going to be here for his contract and then he's going to bugger off. But he's won me over. He's a really good character, and it's a shame that he's in this place where he can't do better for himself, or he's basically on a time limit, so he's going to leave. So I'm going to put him quite high, because it's probably going to be the only time that he's going to be on this list. So Sharon's 1995 exit for him. Next we have Vinny, who opened up a mobile phone case shop in a laundrette for some reason, even though there's a market with people walking by it right next door. He's not done anything. All he does is look pretty, doesn't he? And he pines after Dottie because she slept with him. He thinks now that they deserve to be in a relationship. So I'm going to put him in incidental music. Oh no, actually, better luck next year for Vinny, because I still have hope for his character. Better than Jags. Cherie really did me dirty this year. She left on a weird character changing storyline where she just suddenly became evil and against everyone and sold everything off. Which I used to like her character. They really ruined her this year. So she's going to go into Wolford CCTV, I'm afraid. Sorry, Cherie. Next we've got Ash, the doctor who can never seem to get anything right. Who never does anything right and just always breaks the medical code all the time. Again, she's a bit like Vinny. She's sleeping with Peter, you see, which upsets me. So I'm going to put her in Better Luck Next Year with her brother as well, because they got their last hope now. If next year then they don't improve, then they just need to go. So we've got Vi Highway, which again, when you read the description of this character, you're like, ooh, she's going to be good. And then she appeared on screen, and we were left with what we were left with. So she's going to go into Wolford CCTV as well, I'm afraid, because I don't like the character. I don't like anything about her. Next up, we've got Ikra, who, for some weird reason, even though she doesn't do anything, I have a real soft spot for. And there's something about Ikra and the actress that just it looks like an EastEnders character. So I have high hopes for Ikra. So I'm going to put her up to meh, because I like her and she needs more to do. Next up, we've got Stacey, who returned from her maternity leave as a married lesbian from prison. Stacey's always great. She's not done a whole lot, so I'm going to put her in better luck next year, because she's not really done anything this year because she's not been there. And even since she's returned, she's not really done anything. So I think we're waiting for Ruby to come back and then we can have a real punch-up. So next up, we've got Dana, who has been one of the best newcomers around. She's going straight up to Sharon's 1995 exit because she's just great. She's not had a bad scene and she's just a nice, good character and she feels like a real person. So next up, we've got Janine Butcher, who returned this year to the Fire, to the Scarlet storyline, and kind of wanting to have an affair with Mick thing going on. I'm going to put her in better luck next year as well, which breaks my heart because it's Janine Butcher. She should be up the top with Julia's theme, but she's not had a very good year. I've not been impressed with her storyline, like, not once. Like her introduction, the Fire stuff, the Mick stuff. She works well behind the bar, but she needs work, which I never thought I would say, but here we are. So we've got Kat Slater next, who actually, even though she's with Phil and I disagree with it so much, she's had a really good year because she's opened her business, she's got her taxis, she's got her Amazon delivery company, she's renting the laundrette, and she's doing Vinny's phone thing, so she's like turned into a businesswoman. The only thing I don't like about Kat is how she's now the new Phil Mitchell doormat, but she's still going to go right up to the top to Julia's theme with all the greats, because Kat Slater, what can you do? So next up, we've got Mila, who is Ikra's partner, who had like a world first storyline for Soap, which lasted like 4 episodes and then was never mentioned again. Again, she seems like her character wasn't thought out. They were like, oh, we like you, so we're going to make you a character, and then she just doesn't appear. So I'm going to put her in Wolford CCTV, I'm afraid, because I don't feel anything for her. I prefer her sister, but even then that's questionable. So next up, we've got Harvey, which is Dana and Aaron's dad. I like him. I'm going to put him in meh, because he's like another good community character. Like, he's like replaced Big Mo, kind of. But he's got that more serious side to him, which I quite enjoy. And he's not evil, which is good. Just admit, you know. Next, we've got Kush Kazemi, who tragically ended his life under the tube, and the Wolford CCTV was not working. The biggest crime in the history of EastEnders, so I'm going to put him up into Julie's theme, because Kush shouldn't be dead, he shouldn't have left the show, he should still be on the show, and I will never forgive John Sen or Kate Oates or whoever decided that this was the storyline they were going to do with him. You will not ever be forgiven, whoever you were. Storyliner, script, whoever suggested this, no. Next up, we've got Lucas, which is weird. His return story was awful, so I'm just going to put him straight into Wolford CCTV because Lucas was not it. His return story was stupid, and he shouldn't have even been out on release or parole or whatever he was on, because he's a mass murderer and he escaped prison. Next, we've got Max Branning. Again, I don't really like Max Branning, so he's going into Wolford CCTV as well, because he's just been a dud since like 2017. He should have left ages ago, and he had an affair with Linda, which was stupid. And then he like left baby Abby just so he could get Julie's theme, so everyone thought he was a nice guy. And then 2 weeks later, he like steals baby Abby off screen. So yeah, don't miss Max. So there you go. Another Wolford CCTV for us, we're really getting to them now, aren't we, is recast Liam Butcher. He was just not Liam Butcher, basically, to me. nothing wrong with the actor. He portrayed Liam, or this Liam, well, because I ended up hating him, which was the point, I think. But I don't ever want to see him again back on screen. Now we've got Big Mo. She left to go on her cruise a few months ago. She's still on the cruise. She's another community character that we like. So she's going up into Mare because I love Big Mo, and she's welcome back into Wolford anytime. Then we have Aaron, who's relatively new. He's a villain, evil person, but the character and the actor are outstanding. Like, they're really good. And it's a shame he's a character that's got like the shelf life again. So he's going to go up to Sharon's 1995 Exit. So I don't think he'll be around much longer. But he's a very good addition to the cast. Got Ian Bill, who, made a brief appearance at the beginning of the year, and then Adam Woodjack just ditched his career in EastEnders. But Ian had a bad year, so he's going to go into Better Luck next year if he comes back and Adam agrees to come back. I want to see the triumphant return of Ian Bill. But next up we've got Katie Lewis, who only appeared in a few episodes last year and this year, so she wasn't on last year's tier list or this year's tier list. So we've just added her in just as an extra special because she's a wonderful actress. So I'm going to put her in Sharon's 1995 Exit because another good actress, a good villain. Just because you're a villain doesn't mean you can't be at the top of the tier list. Janine will be there next year, fingers crossed. Then we've got Linda Carter, who had an affair with Max. So she then gets better luck next year automatically for That's Blasphemy. Gray Atkins has outstayed his welcome greatly. He should have left about 2 years ago. And his storyline just got more and more ridiculous as it's been stretched out. So he's going to Wolford CCTV for his name's sake, because he can get away with murder because the Wolford CCTV doesn't work. And now we have Whitney Dean. She's had a bumpy year. She attempted to run over Ben and Callum because she thought they killed Kush, and then she ended up running over Kat and then apologised to Kat, and then she started singing, which was bizarre and weird. Got offered a contract on a cruise ship, and then since then hasn't sung since. And now she's sort of turned into a detective trying to track down Gray for some reason. So yeah, I love Whitney. She's one of my favourite characters. So she would usually be up the top in Julia's theme, but her singing thing and all that weird stuff, she's going to be bumped down 2 places to Mare, which is very low for Whitney. But actually, no, not Mare. She can be in Better Luck next year because I still have high hopes for her. And last but not least is Kathy Bill. She has found herself in a relationship with a con man. Classic Kathy. She's been a great community character. She's been keeping all of Ian's businesses going. She's friendly with everyone. So, of course, as always, she goes right up to the top to Julia's theme. And there you go. That's all the characters done. So, there you go. Let me know what you think, if you agree or disagree with anything that I have said. Post your own tier list, because the link will be on this video, and tag us on Twitter and let us know where you ranked everyone for this year. And thank you for watching, and I will see you again next year for another tier list.